the strongest upgrades that Liverpool could give to that Man City side is Trent at right back, Salah on the right, and probably Jota in the centre forward position.
I think they take that as well.
I think they just about take that because it'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to know if any Man City fans had an opinion on that. But let's flip it on its head then.
So I think there's an argument for the goalkeeper. If I'm being completely biased.
See, but this
tribal, but there's not that much of a difference.
Well, exactly. Yeah. This is the point. If we're looking at let's flip it towards Liverpool and say, which of the Man City players would you think was a worthy upgrade to what Liverpool have got? Trying to be as level-headed on this as possible again. Let's start with the goalkeepers. I think Alisson's better than Henderson.
Yeah.
But if I was a man, I would. If I had either, I wouldn't. If we'd bought Ederson instead of Alisson, I wouldn't want to swap Ederson for Alisson because he's terrific. He's a terrific goalie. And I think the centre back's really interesting because let's use Joel Matip as an example here. Whenever you do combined 11s, Joel Matip is the first one that gets the boot because nobody moves Van Dijk because you can't move Van Dijk because it would be pointless. Everyone else on the planet is weakening to swap.
And they put Diaz in even though he's injured.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're playing it in naturally how it plays, and I would presume Diaz plays left side of centre half if Laporte's in there, but I think Joel Matip is so good, and like Diaz is class, and I think Laporte's really good. And look, to be honest, as much as we've got a bit of there's a laughing stock thing about Stones because he played for the Ev and he had a tricky time for a while. He's a really good centre half as well, but there's no point. I just can't see a point.
It's going from here to here,
if at best, you know what I mean. And I genuinely think Matip's the second best centre half in the country anyway, and that's a bit of Liverpool bias, maybe.
I think he's currently underrated, and I think part of that might be his persona. He's a bit of a meme. Obviously, there's no context, Joel Matip account and stuff like that, and he's a bit of a laughing stock. But we watch him week in, week out, and I think part of Liverpool's success this season has been his fitness because he was injured so much for last season, in and out, and obviously had the lengthy spell from January back in January to the rest of the season, where we missed him. Look at the success we had in 18-19. He played most of the games there, and then he played 12 games the season after, around the same the season after that. We missed him. We missed out on success, and he started again, and he's been a constant. And not just that, you're not rushing Joe Gomez, you're not rushing Konate. So for us, I think he's been sensational, and he just doesn't get that because he's just Joel Matip, and he doesn't get the media attention like a Van Dijk does.
Exactly, and this is and I think there's a few players here because again, I think Rodri's terrific, but what's the point? You've got Fabinho. What's the point of swapping? You've got Matip. What's the point of swapping him for another Man City defender as good as they are? And it kind of, again, that feels like my general gist throughout this. Is there anyone? I mean, look, let's be perfectly honest. It's Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, it is.
And it's this is no slight on Jordan Henderson, but when I look at the difference between what Man City's midfield can do to what our midfield can do, and I think ours is definitely more robust. If it was more of a physical contest, if it was more of a fight,
we'd win.
Yeah, Liverpool's wins, and we've got more options to make it more of that as well if we wanted to. But you look at De Bruyne, and he's that good that you've got to make way somewhere, and I think Liverpool are so good all over the place. Jordan Henderson's the one that I would consider giving up.
Which sounds horrible. It sounds horrible, but when you look at it, it is true. We have to give up Hendo for De Bruyne. Not bad for someone who grew up idolising Michael Owen, apparently. Kevin De Bruyne.
Kev the Redmen.
As it did Aguero as well, let's have it right. But yeah, I think if there's one player... And again, I'm actually the opposite in some cases. I'll be the first person to put Henderson in as first on the team sheet because I think he's so... important to us, but again, we're really nitpicking here, and we're taking it from here again to here. But I think due to his form, due to the numbers that he's put on the board as well in terms of goals and assists, I mean, he should have got an assist for the winner, if we're being honest, on Sunday as well. What a run and a pass to find Mahrez, who couldn't score. Yep. But yeah, De Bruyne is the one right now who is setting the bar, and I believe is the best midfielder in the world.
I think I'm slightly different, or at least I'm torn. I think if I was swapping, I'm swapping for Thiago. Okay. But I wouldn't. I don't think, now I'm convinced myself. And the reason I say that is I think with Liverpool, there always has to be the right balance in midfield to what we do in games. And like we even saw it at the weekend, if it's not right, then it just doesn't work. But it doesn't help when like Fabinho and Henderson went on the game when the game starts. But I think Thiago and De Bruyne are like for like in terms of the creativity, and that's what you associate with Kevin De Bruyne, and that's what we want, is what you're swapping for Jordan Henderson.
Yep.
But what he's taking out of Liverpool midfield, does Kevin De Bruyne do the same amount of pressing and leadership and all that other stuff that Jordan Henderson brings to this Liverpool side, and the graft up and down the pitch, filling in for fullbacks? Does he have to do that at Manchester City when there's 2 or 3 other players that will do that job for him, when Kyle Walker doesn't get forward as much as a Trent Alexander-Arnold? But he, you'd make him fit your system probably is the right answer. But I think if you had Fabinho, Thiago and De Bruyne, it would sound really good on paper and it'd be dead exciting. But what he risking defensively for that?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point then, because I think there's no doubt. I think Kevin De Bruyne, in all honesty, is the only player in the Man City 11 who is the best in the world at what he does.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any people. Feel free to.
In terms of dynamic box to box.
Yeah, just in terms of what he does, he's an absolute best in class. And I don't 100% know like what position he is, because he can do a bit of false nine. He plays wide at times. He plays through the middle, centre mid, plays attacking mid. But yeah, I think I think that's the case. I'm not sure there's anyone else in that squad. And they'll argue I'm sure Man City fans would argue tooth and nail that Ederson's a better keeper than Alisson, or they might argue that Diaz is as good as Van Dijk, for example, or Rodri.
I like Cancelo, to be fair.
Cancelo's really good. But in terms of the De Bruyne stuff, like, he's amazing. He's in that bracket of the best players on the planet.
Yeah.
I think, the way we talk about Alisson and Van Dijk and Salah, I think he's in that. I think he's in that tier, and I don't think I'm saying the words. It doesn't need saying. It's obvious how
they'll struggle to replace him when he goes.
But if we were bringing him into the Liverpool side, I think we've raised an interesting point there. Are you losing Jordan Henderson, or are you losing Thiago? Thiago's very much the flavour of the month, so I suspect if we put it to a poll, Hendo would be the one to lose out, because he always does, because he still carries a lot of stigma and years of baggage. Even though, you're right, he's the captain. He's the perfect captain for Liverpool. I think he's a much better captain than Kevin De Bruyne is, because Kevin De Bruyne gets a little face on him, becomes a little whinge when things aren't going the way, which Jordan doesn't.
Wouldn't get Hendo saying that.
So there's an interesting point there that it might be, you get De Bruyne in, but do you bring him in for Thiago, and then you've got Jordan Henderson to do Jordan Henderson things, and then you're getting a more attacking Thiago.
Or did you lose a forward? Which you probably wouldn't do, actually.
Nope.
What's up with the system that he's playing now?
I don't think, I suppose, do we think that Sadio Mane, Jota, Salah is Liverpool's best front three?
It makes it really sad to say, because I love Bobby, but yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing this, Cup Fellas T-shirt with the OG 3 on, so I'm gonna go against myself and actually argue that I would start Diaz.
It's interesting, because the point I'm kind of leaning towards here is there anyone who plays in the front three or the attacking positions for Man City that because I could make a case that it's Firmino is in our best three. I could make a case that it's Jota instead of him, and you could maybe make is Diaz starting to usurp Mane down that left hand side. But even all of those things notwithstanding, I'm not certain.
I'd sooner use the other 2 of the 5 that aren't starting than start a Man City play up top for us.
Is there anyone that's close?
Potentially Foden.
But I don't think Foden is a left winger.
Play across the front 3 though.
Of course he can.
But for the exercise, you've got to bring him in somewhere into this Liverpool team. And I agree, actually, because again, we're talking longevity as well. You're talking he's in the Trent bracket, age bracket, isn't he? So you've got years and years of him getting better and better.
Interesting to see where he plays in 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he, 20 now?
I think he might be a bit older, but I'll check that out now.
I mean, he is unbelievable. There's no point in coming on here and saying that he isn't as good as he is. He really is. But 21. I just don't think, in terms of the longevity, he will be playing as a left. And I know he likes to come inside, and obviously he's left-footed as well. But I just don't think he's going to end up there. And I would see him more of...
He's played more games at centre-forward, 18.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's only in a Pep team he could possibly have stats like that.
Yeah, and that's it. And again, it's like an honourable mention sort of thing for Phil Foden, because if you were building a squad, why wouldn't you want him?
Yeah.
He's homegrown for a start. Yeah. And he's got he's 21 now, he'll be 22 at the end of the season. So he's only even 2 years away from starting to even talk about coming into his best years. And he's putting down double figures goals and assists at the highest level. But... And again, to the point we're trying to be as level-headed on this, even though Mane, I think there's a general consensus that we're not going to get any better than we've had out of Mane.
Yeah.
Again, he's still putting down more
still
goals.
Scores.
Yeah, you know, if in terms of what we're doing. So, yeah, just going back to it, I can't think. Is there anyone else? I like Bernardo Silva, but I don't know where. This is the
like him as a footballer.
Well, no, I don't like him as a person, but I like him as a footballer. I don't know where he. And this is a Pep Guardiola thing of like everyone plays everywhere. That it's not as easy as saying, because Bernardo Silva played effectively in a two-man midfield at the weekend, but he's a wide player in a front three. Sometimes he's the guy, he's box the box. Sometimes he's the 10. He can play the false 9.
Maybe that's a good thing, though. But I just don't think... I think we're well stacked now for the first time, in comparison to Man City, for the first time in a few years, that he probably still wouldn't get in. Yeah.
And let's not forget, he was very close to leaving there. I think it was last summer. Yeah. And the kind of word around the fans was, let him go. If he wants to leave and he's got his eye on other clubs,
even they think he's a knobhead.
Yeah, so they were happy to let him go. So for him to actually have come back into the team, won over the fans again, and is committed now to the team, you're seeing the benefits of it. I mean, I can't forgive him for a couple of things that he's done personally outside of the pitch, but on the pitch you have to say some player.
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, he's played 23 games in centre mid for them this season. That's his predominant position. 10 in attack and mid, 5 as a forward, and 2 as a right winger. Yeah. So if we're treating him as a midfielder in that regard, I wouldn't swap him for Thiago.
Nope.
He retains the ball very well.
Yeah,
he really is a magician when he gets going. But yeah, if we're looking at him or Thiago, exactly, that's what it will.
And back to the point on this. This is not to say that this is not no slight disrespect on any of these players. It's just not worth the hassle and the change to upgrade in this position. We've got Thiago. Thiago's boss. We don't really necessarily need anyone better, unless you may be making a leap up to Kevin De Bruyne, or again if we're doing that for Jordan Henderson. Yeah. And again, the broad point I'm kind of hitting at here with this is, of course, is that they've got a brilliant 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 players. I think so of Liverpool. There's not much to pick between the two of them. We can get lost in the tribalism of things and go, no, he's well better. But if you were a football manager and you had your budget and you had your resources and you were looking at ways to improve, you wouldn't be making wholesale swaps here between these two sides, because it's just a waste of money.
It's the only team in the league you could do that with, because the standards are so high.
Yeah, I think Chelsea are probably close, but not as close, but that's a reason why, and this is why I think on any given football match, neither Liverpool, Chelsea or City have a particular advantage over the other ones. Those are close games as a result, because when they put a team out on that pitch for that one game of football, there's a piece of paper between all of their players in terms of who's best and who's second best. But yeah, interesting exercise. We had a few comments coming from the club legends. Todd P, based on their system, I'd say Salah and Trent were the only ones who go over into the Man City side. Salah is a drastic improvement on Jesus and has all the quality and more of Mahrez. He loves running at players, and the balls over the top, hustles well and would fit their style. Trent is an absolute threat, and Walker is decent, but Trent would be like having another Cancelo on the other wing. Absolutely deadly combo if City continues to play their high possession football. His arguments for Fabs in for Rodri and for Van Dijk for Laporte, which would be improvements, but I don't think necessarily drastic ones. And Scott T says Trent, Salah and Ali make their team considerably better. Well, shout for Alisson Becker there. For us, De Bruyne only comes to mind. Alternative, a player like Jota would also fit well for City, considering they need an out-and-out finisher. Yeah, I think it's largely what we've come down.
We basically said all that.
Yeah, Alisson will just make the goalkeeper look better as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He looks like, well, you make him look like less of a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing with Ederson, and again, something that in football really confuses me. Why would you wear braces, right? So Ederson was wearing braces to fix his teeth or whatever, and then just gets veneers.
He obviously did you notice that? Yeah, I didn't notice that, but he obviously just decided.
Stick with the braces, bro.
Yeah.
Or just, you should have just got veneers at the start.
Yeah, for that reason
he's probably seen Bobby and Klopp and gone, where do you get your teeth?
No, it's true. Yeah, honestly, because there's that point where he's gone, no, I'll go natural, and then he's probably finished and gone,
actually,
what I was working with was crap, to be honest. So yeah,
I've never understood that.
Yeah, okay, so we're swapping Bobby Firmino's teeth into Man City, into the goalkeeper. Yeah. Why not? Interesting, Chelsea. Have you got any alternatives to what we've mentioned there? Again, trying to be as balanced and level-headed as possible without falling into, I like him, so I think this and I think that, because as we said, the combined 11s are just rubbish. They're just a bit rubbish and a bit played out. But yeah, as an exercise, who would you think? And the way being like drastic improvement, who is a significant improvement from either side that could swap over and make those sides better? Let us know, either in the comments or if you're a Club Legend, use the Club Legend Discord chat. Thank you so much for checking out that free section from this week's debate show. If you want the full debate that we had here, including which Liverpool players go into the Man City team and why, as well as whether Pep should be the successor to Klopp, and what's funnier, Liverpool end up relegating Everton or beat Man United and consign them to the Conference League. Really, really good stuff. That show is streaming in video and in podcast form exclusively on redmenplus.com. Head over there, sign up, and we'll see you there.